Hi guys, welcome to M&D Made Simple. I'm your host, Coach Alexander. I'm so glad you've joined me today because today we'll be looking at the monitoring and evaluation exam questions and answers. So with me here, I have an examination that was issued through the one-on-one coaching program that we're running, and we just concluded the first part last year, and we issued the examination questions in the early month of January. So I'm just sharing this with you so that at least you gain an appreciation. One thing you should know is that all these questions were benchmarked. Okay, we had to do a lot of research to come up with these questions, and I sure hope you're going to derive the maximum benefit. So please do well to use the timestamps. If you don't want to watch the whole video, please do well to use the timestamps so that you can only look at the questions that are only relevant to you. Okay, so now one thing I need to tell you guys is that in case you want to have somebody mark this question paper for you, you can always write to me and we'll have it marked for you. We'll give you a score, a realistic score, an objective score based on the answers that you've given us. But I have to tell you that it's at a small fee. So please write to me and I'll tell you the small fee. It's nothing very expensive. It's just so that you can support us so that we can sustain ourselves. Okay, so now let's look at the questions step by step. Section A is worth 60 marks. Section B is worth 40 marks. So in section A, there are actually, how many questions are there? Question 1, question 2. Okay, so there are 2 questions. These are all mandatory. So since there are 2 questions, you have 30 marks for each. Then you've got section B, which has 3 questions, and you can answer any 2 of these questions. Okay, so I want you to understand how these questions should actually be answered. Okay, so let's go to section A. Question 1. You have been employed as a monitoring and evaluation manager for an organization implementing a USAID funded project. The duration is 18 months and designed to offer economic empowerment in particularly the women. So as manager, of course, you are responsible for consolidating the data collection activities undertaken by various M&D staff you are supervising. So the question is, what exactly is data? So now data, guys, one thing I have to tell you is that when somebody asks you that question, what is data? From a statistical point of view, it is so much different from information. So one thing you need to understand is that data is actually the raw form before it has been processed into what we know as information. So with data, you don't really have any meaning attached to it. It is just numbers and figures. So that is what is data. So whatever you collect from the field before it has been analyzed and reported on, that is what is data. So you have to make that clear so that the markers of this exam can give you the maximum marks. So what is information? Information is simply the processed form of data, the final product after you've undertaken the analysis. So what criteria do you use to ensure that the data is of high quality? So quality assurance is really very important when it comes to monitoring and evaluation. So one of the things you have to take note of, guys, is that for data to be of high quality, it has to be data that is timely, that is checked for validity, that is also data that is cost effective to collect. So there are so many criterias you can check on. Okay, those are just some of the few. But I know even if you go to the internet right now, they'll give you that criteria. So now what is the step-by-step process when you do a data quality audit? So now the data quality audit, guys, should be done on an annual basis according to what I feel. Okay, I don't know what other organizations do. I can't speak for others, but I know most organizations that take M&D seriously will want to have this done at least once a year. So the whole point is that you want to ensure that the data quality is of a high standard so that at the point when it is processed, the management will be able to make well-informed decisions. So the step-by-step process, I'll just give you a general understanding, but really what you're supposed to note is that first you need to do a desk review. After doing the desk review, you need to send notification to all the departments in the organization that are responsible for undertaking data quality or ensuring data collection, analysis, and report writing. So when you send that notification, then you go into the field, you actually do an interview of all these departments to check whether whatever they are collecting is of high quality, because the quality of the data has a bearing on what kind of decisions management will make. If the quality of data is low, then the decision making process will be not so up to standard. But if it is of high quality, then the decision making process will be of high quality as well. So after you've done the audit, after you've checked, you now make recommendations on how the different departments can improve on their data quality. Okay, so that's a brief summary on the process. So now let's go further to question 2. Key performance indicators are important to measure progress in the implementation of the project. So now, what are the different types of key performance indicators? So now, I have to tell you this, that the key performance indicators are different. And I hope you know this by now. You've got the impact indicators, you've got the outcome indicators, you've got the input indicators. Okay, you've also got the process indicators. These are different type of indicators, including the output indicator. So you have to list them down and you have to explain what each of them mean. So now, what are the two ways in which these indicators are developed? So there are two ways. You've got the basic approach where you just list all the possible indicators you feel should be in a project. You just list them down, okay? And then after you've listed them down, you shortlist the ones that follow the criteria of a good indicator, okay? So when you list them down, you shortlist the ones which follow the criteria of a good indicator, that of being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. However, you need to ensure that even when you list down those indicators, you have thoroughly convinced yourself that these are actually the indicators that you use. So after you've listed them down, you've shortlisted them, you trial them, okay? And when you trial run them, you are actually convincing yourself further that these are indicators that you use. But if in the trial run, you discover out of those indicators you shortlisted, they are not actually gaining ground, you have to remove them. So after removing them, those are the ones you adopt. However, the other method is where you use the problem and solution tree method. Okay. So I won't talk about this method because it's a method that I share usually with the students. and the students who are with me right now have paid for the personal coaching program. So I wouldn't want to let them down by revealing some of the information that I've been sharing with them. But those are the two methods, and I hope you understand that's what you should be using. Okay, so now you've got part B, refer to the logical framework, develop indicator reference sheets for all indicators listed. So you just concentrate on all these indicators, develop indicator reference sheets. So when we say indicator reference sheets, we're simply saying that for each indicator, define what that indicator is. Mention how it is calculated, how it is collected, who is collecting it. Because the thing is that if today you left your organization, the person that comes to join that organization should have the same level of understanding. So it's really important you standardize all these processes. So state 5 advantages of using indicator reference sheets in monitoring and evaluation. One is the standardization. Two, it's cost effective. Okay. Three, M&E is well coordinated. Four, you will be able to report data on time because you won't have to be spending so much time trying to figure out what this indicator is, how it should be collected. So you do things on time. I'll leave the fifth one for you to research about. Okay, so now this question 3, that's section B, give the step-by-step process in developing and implementing an M&D system. Very straightforward, guys. I've talked about this so many times. You can look at some of my videos to get the best answers to this question. But one thing I can tell you is that it all begins from the logical framework matrix, okay? Because that is where all the indicators are. So you want to study those indicators, you want to derive the maximum benefit and be able to come up with an M&D system. But of course, in the ebooks, the free ebooks in the description below, it gives you a step-by-step process on how to do an M&D system. But otherwise, apart from that, I think I've explained enough. So provide a comparison of an established M&D arrangement in terms of resource capacity. Okay, so this is another question which needs you to think critically about the different models when it comes to M&D institutional capacity. So the ideal arrangement is that you should have a manager or a director of an M&D department. But you find that because monitoring and evaluation is not given the attention it deserves sometimes, the structures can be compromised. Sometimes it's not because that people are not paying attention, but it could be because there's no money. So you have to be able to compare and contrast the ideal situation with the situation where people are struggling to sustain an M&D system. So develop a monitoring and evaluation plan based on M&D framework attached. Ensure you adhere to the format for developing an M&D plan. So I've talked about the M&D plan many times. You should have your introduction, you should have the objectives, you should have the tools, the list of indicators, the budget, the roles and responsibilities, the actual work plan. By doing that, you're doing things in a well coordinated manner. Okay, guys. So, my appeal to you is to look at planning as in terms of 3 questions. What is it you want to do? How are you going to get there? And what resources do you need? That is an M&A plan. So I sure hope you enjoyed this short presentation. I'm so glad you joined this channel. And in case you want me to mark or want part of my team members to mark your answered script, you can write to me and we'll arrange so that you do the answers for this question. We mark it for you, but it will come at a small fee. At this point in time, we want to leave everything in your hands. Take care. Until we meet again, see you on the other side. Bye.